You're out of options. Supplies are low. Your group's on its last leg. 8 of you. All beat to hell. That's when you see it. A massive hospital on the horizon. Slow, relentless walkers just like the ones from The Walking Dead drift between the ambulances outside. Glass shattered. Emergency lights dead. For the hardcore survivors, think Train to Busan meets real life, where every hallway is a corridor of traps and every room could be your last. But maybe, just maybe, salvation lies behind those broken double doors. The question is, would this be your healing ground or your deathbed? Find out here on the Zombie Survival Archive. For this scenario, we're dealing with the classic slow-moving walkers. Think The Walking Dead, no rage zombies, no Usain Bolt sprinters. These are the dead brought back to hunt the living. They're slow, but they never give up. And one bite, that's game over, buddy. You're rolling deep this time. 8 survivors. You all have different skill sets. A former nurse, 2 ex-military, a mechanic, a cook, and 3 others trying to keep up. You enter through the ambulance bay where rusted gurneys line the walls and dried blood marks the floor like some post-apocalyptic crime scene. The hospital is pretty massive. 4 stories tall, 2 basement levels, and a rooftop helipad. You set your base on the 3rd floor, far enough to avoid ground level walkers but still manageable enough to escape if needed. Food-wise, the cafeteria is a gold mine of canned goods and vacuum-sealed snacks. Vending machines are cracked open, but still, you may find some decent calorie-filled snacks just to get you by. Water is trickier. Some of the sinks still cough out brown tinted sludge, but you still find several sealed bottles in nurses' stations and supply closets. The real jackpot? IV saline packs. It's not exactly Gatorade, but it'll keep hydration at bay in a pinch. As for shelter, the operating rooms are sterile and sealable. There's even an old security office where you hook up a battery bank from the ambulances outside. There's reinforced doors, clean beds, and med kits everywhere. It almost feels like a base straight out of Dead Rising. Almost. But then, the silence. Not peace. That eerie, bone-deep quiet that tells you something's not right. But let's be a little more positive and speak on the pros. Structurally, an hospital is built like a bunker. Reinforced steel doors and narrow hallways slow down any undead rush. Multiple floors allows for vertical mobility. Defend one level, fall back to the next. You got medical supplies, antibiotics, painkillers, bandages. This is priceless in a world where a paper cut can kill you. Beds, clean rooms, and privacy, those are morale skyrockets. You have defensible stairwells, but make sure you barricade the elevators. And you can use the roof as a lookout post or emergency evac point. And water, you know, the most critical thing to your survival, is limited, but sealed bottles and IV packs scratch your supplies. What about food? You have enough to last your group for weeks. Thanks to the massive cafeteria and industrial pantry, you're not looking at a 5-day scavenge run. You may have about 3 or 4 weeks of supplies, especially if you can secure the storage wing and stretch the rations. Add in the vending machines, staff snacks, and medical grade nutrition packs, and you're eating better than most survivors. Maybe even longer than I predicted. And the pharmacy downstairs feels like looting heaven. And bonus, the mental comfort of being surrounded by medicine, order, and hope. It's more powerful than you think in a dying world. Oh yeah, and did we mention power? You rigged the ambulance batteries for minimal lighting and charging radios. If this were Dawn of the Dead, you'd be a montage away from building a fortress. Now, let's talk about the not so bright side. The cons. Hospitals attract the sick, and in this world, the infected. There's a high chance of walkers already being inside. ICU wings, morgues, basements, those are zombie nests waiting to burst. And remember, these are Walking Dead style walkers. So when you die, you change. So many rooms equals a lot of blind spots. Also, what you have to consider is the smell, decay, chemicals, and dry blood. It messes with your head, big time. The power is limited. Once your external battery dies, you're in pitch black territory. Medical gas tanks, they can explode. One stray bullet, and your floor becomes a war zone. Sanitation is brutal. Clogged toilets, biohazard bins, and literal corpses. Also, with 8 people, 1 infected scratch, and the whole floor becomes a death trap. Lastly, the morgue. You hear scratching behind those sealed doors. You pray it's nothing. But you've been surviving long enough to know you can't take any chances. And here's how it all can fall apart. The collapse scenario. It hasn't been long since you arrived, maybe a few weeks. Who knows? The days blend in with each other. The original group of 8 is now down to 6, but you picked up a few survivors along the way. One of the med students disappeared on a supply run. The other, you hate to say it, but he's not coming back. You've turned the surgical wing into a sleeping area, converted defibrillators into makeshift alarms, and even managed to power a floor using diesel from an ambulance. But the calm never lasts. A scratch no one noticed that was covered by a long sleeve. She didn't tell anyone, not until it was too late. You try to isolate her in an ICU room and seal the doors, but panic spreads faster than the infection. The group fractures. Half of them wants to put her down, and the other half hesitates. While you're arguing, the real horror comes. The emergency exit alarm started blaring. A power surge from the basement started it. You rush to the surveillance monitors and see them. A horde, easily 60, maybe 100. They're pouring into the lower levels through the ER loading bay. Someone must have left the service door unlatched. Probably one of the new survivors you added to the group. They haven't been with the group long, so you know how that goes. There's no time to run drills, no time for calm. You've practiced this scenario, but now it's real. You slam shut the stairwell doors, but some won't lock. The group panics. Screams echo down every hallway. You see movement on the floor above. More infected. Maybe patients who never died, just waited. Elevators grind to life. Now they're coming from above and below. You try to move the wounded, but there's too many. Your group splits again. Someone heads for the operating room wing. Another flees to the rooftop. You grab a fire axe and sprint for the pediatrics, hoping the child-proof doors buys time. But it's chaos. One of them, David, he gets cornered in the MRI room. You hear the banging, then a silence. Blood slicks the hallway floors. Sprinklers trigger from the smoke. You hear the gurgled wet groans echo through the vents. You're trapped now, holding a fire axe in a dim hallway with only one exit behind you, a supply closet. And then, a crash. Glass shatters. They're here. You make your stand in pediatrics. You barricade the door with an IV pole, with sweaty, bloody hands gripping your fire axe like a lifeline. You think about jumping from the second-story window. You wonder if you'd survive the fall, and if it would be any better than what's on the other side of that door. This was supposed to be a place of healing, but now it's your tomb. For my final analysis, the hospital gave you time, supplies, and shelter. Also a little more hope, but it also carried death in every hallway. For short-term survival, it was a gold mine, but long-term, too many variables and too many dark corners. You needed constant vigilance, tight discipline, and a good exit strategy. So for my final verdict, it's a great place to find food, shelter, and medical supplies, things that you really need. But it's also a hot spot. For long-term survival, I would rate it a 1. It's great for short-term holdout. It's risky for anything longer. You came for healing, but in this world, even salvation is temporary. If you made it this far, you're officially part of the crew. Drop a comment. Where should we survive next? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay alive. Thank you for watching The Archive. We really appreciate you guys.